Okay, so Grandma, last time you went to the doctor, you guys were talking about your fatty acids in your diet, and you said that you had some questions about those. So what I did is I drew a little fat molecule right here. You can see the carbons are in the middle. This right here is a saturated fat, and so you can see that every single carbon has a bond all the way around it. So how I like to see it is that there's no holes in it. It's totally protected by those hydrogens. And that's your saturated fats. You want to try to, or a lot of doctors are going to tell you to avoid a lot of those. Now, if it's unsaturated, that means two of these carbons have linked up somewhere, sometimes on the third if it's an omega-3, on the sixth carbon sometimes if it's an omega-6, but they'll link up and have a double bond there, and these hydrogens will go away, and so there's a little hole between hydrogens. And I like to see that as kind of a breakdown in the barrier so that your body can use it up pretty nicely. If it's a polysaturated or polyunsaturated, more than one carbon will have a double bond, and so those carbons will be missing hydrogens more than just one spot. The better fats, or I guess so-called the better fats, it depends on what year you're in, is the unsaturated fats. For a lot of reasons. They're going to come from, basically, there's a lot of rules, and they change all the time. But if you can get your fats from sources that are really natural, whether you get them from animals, if you get a free roaming animal, fed its normal diet, it's going to give you a lot different ratio of fats, which are good. But if you get a lot of farmed animals, or if you obviously have McDonald's or things like that, your fat ratio, it's still fat, which is good. Fat is not bad, but the fat content of it, the content within the fat is going to be a lot different ratios. And so, let's see. Your omega-3 fats, like I said, that double bond is going to be on the third carbon. And they're going to come from those are good fats, so you want those in your diet. They're going to come a lot from fishes. You can get them from a lot of things. Your fishes are going to be, obviously every fish is different. Remember, the farmed ones are going to be not as good for you as the free roaming ones, the ones that they catch way out in the open sea like normal. But there's a lot of different ratios. And they're different for different people. So like women and men are going to have different requirements. Young people have different requirements than old people. People that are already in a state of cardiovascular disease are going to have a different requirement than somebody who's not in a cardiovascular disease. Changing those ratios sometimes can benefit. Changing those ratios sometimes can actually hurt your health. So what I think is best out of all the things that I've heard is a little bit of everything is good. So if you have a handful of any sort of mixed nuts, that's great. Now if you don't ever eat them, obviously that's not good because you're missing a lot of nutrients that come from those. But if you have 10 handfuls in a day, that's something that those pathways that break down those fatty acids and use them for things like cell-to-cell signaling or membrane stuff or DNA, what am I looking for? Translocation of them or translation of them to rebuild proteins and things. If you overbear those pathways, then obviously it's not good because then you're going to flood your system and it's going to build up somewhere. So like I said, a little bit of everything is good. Essential fatty acids, you have two of them. They're your ALAs and your omega-3s and your omega-6s. Your omega-3 is your ALA and your omega-6 is your linoleic acid. And what they do is they down-regulate a lot of inflammatory pathways and signaling and stuff like that. So that's really good. You don't want a lot of inflammation, especially as you get older and you have a lot of destruction and damage already in your body. They help to dilate your arteries, so it makes it easier on your heart. It really helps with almost the contractility of the heart. So everyone has arrhythmias throughout the day. It's just normal. You could probably have 20 arrhythmias throughout the day, and that's fine. Your body can recover from it when it's young. When you get older, it doesn't recover from it as much, and they happen just as much, if not more. But as you get older, especially if those arteries can't dilate or if you have a lot of inflammation somewhere or something like that, then it causes a problem. But if you have those fatty acids in your system, then it helps to almost be like a cardiac protective mechanism. So it helps your body recover from those arrhythmias quite nicely. Let's see. your EPAs. So your EPAs are really good, and your DHAs, they're for really long and confusing words. But they're really good because they downregulate a lot of inflammatory pathways such as COX-2. And then they also, I guess part of that same idea is that they inhibit your AAs from breaking down as much, which later on down that pathway can contribute to inflammatory mechanisms. So they hinder it in multiple parts of the pathway. So it's really good because that obviously helps cardiac protect, and then you don't have as many inflammatories. And if you have these throughout your life, then when you get older, you have a lot less likely chance of having like a fatal MI or any other cardiac disease if you have all these mechanisms helping to protect you. Let's see. Did monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, omega-3s in your EPAs? That should be it. If you have any more questions, let me know.